Right now, I'm working with 7 donkeys, and they're all in completely different places, even though I'm training them the same way. Today is day 2 of me quitting my 9 to 5 job and just doing the donkeys. So right now I'm getting the puppies their breakfast. Of the 7 donkeys that I'm working with right now, some of them are almost ready to graduate. Others were just barely able to touch. This is actually day 2 since I quit my 9 to 5 job. So this is what my days look like right now. Elton John, looks like you still have breakfast. And there we got Richard, the spicy little girl. Look at all these donkeys. But first we have to feed breakfast. And even here, I still have a plan. We've got a checklist we're working through with the donkeys. But the checklist isn't the most important part. What matters is how good you do in each moment of the process. With 08, this is where we're at. With him, we can touch him, but we're not even trying to halter him yet. We're working on him being comfortable in our presence and with touch on both sides. And today, what I decided to work on is throwing this rope over him and helping to cause him a measured, a little bit amount of stress to help him feel comfortable with us in the moment. Now, as you watch while I'm working with 08 here, this isn't about just putting this rope on him and running up and touching him. Doing all of this, he's going to learn a little bit more about reading my body language, and how far I get towards him is going to depend on how comfortable he is. I really want him to feel comfortable in the moment, not scared of me or my rope. And if you watch, sometimes he'll even show curiosity about this rope on his back. Eventually, I can use this to help him learn to give to pressure a little bit. But until then, I really want to see the comfort before I ask for more. A question that I get asked a lot is, how do you get your donkey to move from you? So sometimes I'm going to ask him to take a step forward, and you can watch my body language, and I'm not asking for a bunch of movement. So here he's learning what it feels like when I'm asking for movement and what it feels like when I'm asking for him to stand still. All of these are so important things for him to understand while I'm working with them. And as he finds me predictable, he is going to have more confidence being around me. And that's what we're looking for, guys, just for him to feel comfortable and confident, to not be worried and bothered. And taking the time that he needs to get there is really good. Sometimes, you guys know, I just sit and have hay or oats in my hand and just feed them. But sometimes I also want to cause a little small amount of stress so that they're looking to me and they're finding comfort with me. Almost like your kiddo going to kindergarten the first time. It's stressful for everybody so often, but it is a good way to help them learn when they have to go do something new. And here we're getting more curiosity, and I love that he's reaching out to me. Now, Red, on the other hand, he's still trying to figure out if he's safe. He's not being difficult. He's just uncertain. They're not being stubborn. They're still thinking. Now we're going to get him to put his nose through here. Yeah, you got to put your nose in that. That's what you got to do. Oh my gosh, it's the Velcro. What I'm looking for here is a sign of relaxation. And that's going to show up when he decides to stand still. And I'm watching for the smallest of the signs that he's going to show me. When he's looking at me, I'm actually not going to do anything. But when he's looking away, that's when I'll slowly move towards him, my hand or my body. What I want is for him to get curious and start thinking about what's happening. Because if I'm always moving towards him, he would never get a chance to process any of this. So what I'm doing here is introducing a really small amount of pressure, not to overwhelm him, but just enough for him to start thinking. And that is an important distinction because this isn't about stressing him out. It's about giving him something he can work through and then helping him find comfort on the other side of it. It's kind of like the first day of school. It's not completely comfortable, but it's how they learn to cope and figure things out. And with him, everything has been moving pretty slow. I started working with him toward the end of December. And even though he's made progress, he's still holding on to that nervousness. So I decided to add just a little more to what I'm doing. I had been focusing on helping him be comfortable eating next to me and introducing the halter, but he really wasn't working through that feeling yet. So now I'm asking a little bit more of him, just enough that he has to think. And then I release and I let him find comfort again. I'm not trying to push him through it. I'm trying to help him think through it. Tony is one of those donkeys that doesn't give you big changes all at once, but he gives you something every single time. It's small, sometimes really small, but it's consistent and that matters. And with everything that's been going on lately, quitting my 9-to-5 job, bringing in more donkeys, the puppies needing attention. They are 7 weeks old today. These guys actually had about a week off where there wasn't much training at all. So coming back out here, part of what I'm doing is just checking in, seeing what they retained and where their mind is today. Because that's something that comes up a lot. People wonder, if I don't work with my donkeys every day, are they going to lose everything? And Tony is a really good example of that because even with that time off, he's still here, still trying, still offering something. Now, Tony's go-to when he's unsure is to back up, and you'll see that here. He'll step back, kind of, create space, but what's interesting is he still stays engaged. He doesn't check out, he just tries to manage the situation his way, and sometimes that backing up isn't just nervousness. Sometimes it's impatience, too. He's pretty food motivated, and you'll see him toss his head a little. That's him saying, I know there's oats involved, now get with it. So in this moment, I have to decide, am I going to get the halter on him and move on? Or am I going to slow down and make sure he's actually okay here? Because the goal isn't just to put the halter on and check it off the list. The goal is for him to stand here, relaxed, and understand what's happening. So instead of rushing through it, I stay here and I work through that backing up. I wait for him to stand still, even if it's just for a moment at first. And then we can build from there. Because if I had just put the halter on, first chance I got, yeah, I could have checked it off the box, but there would have been a hole in his understanding. And that always shows up later. So once he's able to stand and actually be okay in the moment, that's when I move forward. And that's what led us introducing leading for the first time. Not because that was the original plan, but because that's where he's mentally ready to go. And that's something I adjust all the time. I might come out here with a plan, but the donkey tells me what we're actually going to work on. Today, I also brought out a long brush to start working on his legs, but we never got to that, and that's okay, because getting through the moment, getting him comfortable, standing, accepting the halter, that's the win for today. And that's the part that really matters. It's not about how many things I can get done. It's about how solid each step is when we do it. And Tony is a really good reminder of that. Slow, consistent, thinking, and always offering just a little more each time. Richard has actually been my slowest one. And for a long time, Red was way ahead of him. But what's really interesting is how quickly that can change. Because now, Richard is actually ahead of Red. For Richard, this came from me doing something completely different. It came from one moment where things shifted for him. I had been going really slow with him, just helping him get comfortable being around me, eating near me, not eating out of my hand though. He would eat hay from my hand, but he would not take oats from my hand. And at a certain point, I stopped pushing that because I could feel that he just wasn't ready. But then one day, something happened that kind of forced the situation. His neck tag had gotten up over one of his ears, and I knew I needed to get that off so he didn't hurt himself. So I used a long stick to reach out and get it off. And honestly, that pushed him more than I would normally choose to do. But it was necessary. And what was interesting is after that moment, that's when things started to change. That's when I really started to see where his limits were and how he handled pressure. Richard isn't one of those donkeys that shows a lot in his face, but he'll clench his jaw so tight you could just feel the tension in him. He would kick with intention, but I don't hold that against him. After all, he's a wild donkey, and he's not a young one. The older wild donkeys, they already have their habits. They already have their ways of coping, and that's okay. Because once they start to understand the process, they can actually move forward faster than a young one because they already know how to deal with pressure in some way. So after that moment, when his neck tag was up over his ear, we decided to go ahead and introduce the rope. And the reason for that was, when I was working with him before, with the halter, his answer was to turn and go. And we can allow that for a little while, but if we're not careful, we end up teaching them that's the answer. So I want you to introduce giving to pressure before pulling away or leaving became a habit. My soon-to-be son-in-law came over, and he loves to use his rope. So he roped him, and we started introducing the idea very simply. And to be completely transparent, I was a little bit nervous doing this because anytime you add more pressure, you want to be making sure that you are not taking a step backwards. But we didn't take a step backwards. And the next day, I worked with him again with the rope. Now he has 2 days in a row of working with the rope and searching for the idea of giving to pressure instead of just reacting. And that's when things started to change. I feel like this is where we're starting to get over that hump, where Richard stopped just reacting or freezing, going so internal, and he started to think about trusting. That doesn't mean everything is perfect. It just means his mind is starting to shift. I started to notice him more looking towards me with curiosity, acknowledging me more than he had in the past. This is where things started to feel more next level. It's hard to decide when to add more pressure and when to keep waiting things out. I've used the rope before, but I hadn't used it with Richard yet. Changing things up with Richard a little bit has him thinking with me. This is just a small piece of what this actually looks like when we slow down and work through it step by step. So coming back out here after a few days where things have been busy and they didn't get worked with as much, that's always in the back of my mind. What did he retain? What did we lose? Where are we actually at today? And that's something I hear a lot. People worry about taking time off. But the reality is, life happens. And when it does, the most important thing is not where you left off. It's where they are right now. So when I came out to work with him, I wasn't trying to pick up where we left off. I was checking in with where his mind was at in the moment. And honestly, we did go back a little bit. And that's okay. That's expected, especially with a wild donkey. This is why the foundation matters so much, because when you build it right, it lasts. And when you don't, that's when your holes show up later. And those holes are always harder to fix than it is to just do it right the first time. Today, I was able to walk up to his left side, get the halter up over his head, and when it came time to bring it down around his nose, he got bothered. That's okay. That tells me exactly where he's at, and now I know where to go from here. I didn't rope him again today, but if he starts to going back to leaving, I'll bring the rope back in. Not to push him, but to remind him how to find the answer, because all of this, it's a process. It's not about forcing anything. It's about helping them understand and to find comfort in the moment. And when you have that, that's when things really start to come together. With Lewis, he's really close. He's thinking, he's soft, he understands. Today I was just working on his feet, and that's actually a pretty big trust step. Getting a donkey to accept you being around them is one thing, but picking their feet up and staying relaxed while you hold them, that's a whole nother level of trust. And with him, he's not quite there yet. He keeps telling me he's a little uncomfortable, stepping back, shifting his weight. So I don't rush it. I just slow down and let him realize he can stay with me in the moment. And he's really close, just not quite all the way there yet. And then with Veronica, she's in a completely different place. When I picked up her feet today, she was just soft about it. No hesitation, no concern, just quiet acceptance. And that's what it looks like when they really start to trust the process. It's not just that they tolerate it. It's that they can stay mentally with you while you're doing it. And after we finished, I just spent a little time with her and let her be done. Because at that point, there's nothing to push. She's already there. And then there's Elton John. He's actually making really good progress overall. But he's still sensitive, especially with that back right leg. And every now and then, he'll remind you that. And that's part of what we're working with on him. It's not a straight line. One day you feel really good about where he's at. And the next day, you're reminded that there are still pieces he's working through. That's true in life, too, right now. I'm an early bird, Dan's a night owl. And the puppies don't care what schedule I want to be on. So we adjust. We don't force everything into one system. We work with what's actually in front of us. Yes, we have a checklist. But real progress doesn't come from checking things off. It comes from showing up in each moment and getting to their mind. Sometimes you have a donkey that becomes gentle in weeks. Some take months. But every single one of them is learning how to cope, not just comply. And that's what actually lasts.